Know the difference with Annex Wealth Management? There is no shortage of stories about celebrities who die without proper wills and estate plans. Just because somebody's got fame and fortune doesn't mean they avoid making the same kind of mistakes everybody else can make. Jill Martin is estate planning attorney at Annex Wealth Management. Back to talk about this. Hey, Jill.
Hi, Danny.
We talk about this stuff all the time, and I wish we had a whole hour, and we wouldn't even come close to all of the celebrity mistakes. Let's concentrate on a few.
Absolutely. Sounds good.
Let's start with the Queen of Soul, Aretha Franklin. So she died. Her estate was estimated to be in the hundreds of millions of dollars. Didn't look like she had a will. So her sons approved a cousin to act as the executor. But then 3 handwritten, almost illegible documents were found. One, you said, was in a couch cushion?
It was.
So problem solved. You got a will.
Well, you would think, but no, not as easy as that goes, right? So the problem was, did they satisfy all the legal requirements to be a will? Were they executed properly? You need witnesses whenever you write a last will and testament. So it gets to be really messy. And so now they had all of these issues of, are these valid? Which one is the most recent? And what do we follow and what do we do?
And she had 4 sons. One of those sons had diminished mental capacity, and within one of those documents was just a handwritten instruction to, quote, take care of him. That's not enough.
That's generally not going to be enough, right? What does that mean? Does that mean give him money? Does that mean hold money for his benefit? And then how do you use that money for his benefit? Too generic.
Plus, she had about $8 million in unpaid taxes, so somebody's got to figure out how that's getting paid.
Right. Her poor CPA is probably cringing. Unfortunately, celebrities have a lot of issues that surround them, and if you don't surround yourself with good advisors and good people to support that, their issues are going to be magnified.
Let's go on to Prince. Prince died with no will, but a massive estate, like hundreds of million dollars, not officially valued. Dozens of claimants surfaced. He's got 6 siblings. Last thing I saw was so far like $45 million had been spent just on administration, $10 million in legal fees alone.
Yes, because there was no will, and he had an interesting family dynamic where there were lots of half-brothers and half-sisters, and he had been married and divorced, and right, who are his heirs? That becomes an exercise of genealogy just to figure out who would be a rightful heir to take, which that took years of litigation to sort through in and of itself. You know, the other thing that's really big with his estate is obviously music royalties, use of a likeness. How do you value that? The executors for his estate came in and said, we think his whole estate all in is worth, about 83 million. The IRS, after the estate tax return was filed, said, yeah, we think it's about double that. Write us another check for another $33 million in estate tax. So it becomes a really, really difficult thing to plan when you have no idea the valuation.
Larry King recently died. Married 8 times, 7 women. Sean King, the latest wife, but they were in divorce proceedings, but I guess it was stalled. She was the executor of his estate according to a 2015 will, but now there's a handwritten will that came up from 2019, and it only splits his assets between the 5 kids, so she's pushing back on that. Larry King Jr. says he's got priority over the latest wife, but the wife says the handwritten will violates 2 post-nuptial agreements.
Right? You can't make this stuff up, can you? I mean, the other part of this is this handwritten will from 2017 was before 2 of his children had passed away. So now, in addition, he only has 3 surviving children. So what happens to those other 2/5? It demonstrates that while best laid intentions to get something written down quickly to make sure your wishes are in place, it actually leads to more problems.
Tony Shai is not a household name, but he founded Zappos. When he died, he was worth $840 million. And again, you saw this coming, no will, resident of Nevada, and according to their intestate succession laws, his parents would inherit the entire estate. But there's no records. There's just instructions on sticky notes. He had real estate investments as various LLCs, and there's debt to pay. So his family's going to get nailed with this huge tax bill.
Well, and again, it's not the family, right? So if we're projecting his estate to be in the $850 million range, take off the debts will get settled as part of that, but then whatever's left, 40% of that is going to go to the IRS as part of an estate tax payment before the family gets $1. How much of that $840 million was liquid? That becomes a really big question. Do you have to sell off a bunch of things? I think I've already seen that they're selling off some of his real estate investments in hotels that maybe he had in Nevada because they need cash.
So sometimes these documents can really ensnare somebody. Let's talk about Britney Spears. Now, she's still alive, right? But she is the subject of this documentary, and it sounds like everything has gone haywire with her.
Yeah, so Britney's in a very different situation, but there are other celebrities that have found themselves in these situations, right? Casey Kasem, Mickey Rooney. What's happened is as they age or they're in a vulnerable state, they need someone who they trust to take over to manage their affairs, their personal decisions, those types of things. And while that is generally someone they select initially, what can happen is greed and money and power over those people that now have been put into that place can really snowball. And with Britney, I think, there's the documentary, there's all sorts of stuff. You can see the free Britney stuff online all over the place. It's a fabulous read, right? But what it is her dad and a corporate organization are conservators to manage all of her finances and to manage kind of her personal calendar and what she can and can't do. And dad has been petitioning all along to be the sole person in charge of her finances. That seems a little greedy, right? And is Britney at the point where she needs a conservator anymore? Right? It becomes a whose pocket are we lining here? So it's not just about making sure that things are in good order, but it's making sure it's people that you trust implicitly that won't suddenly turn on you.
At Annex Wealth Management, you don't have to be the Queen of Soul, the Master of Purple Rain, a successful talk show host, or an internet pioneer. Put things in the proper place with the right kind of estate plan that's part of your larger financial plan. That's what we do. Jill Martin, estate planning attorney, Annex Wealth Management. I know this is going to happen again. We'll talk about this again.
I'm sure we will.
Thank you for your time.
You're welcome.